My relationship with Transformers is more than meets the eyes. In this video, I'll tell you why. I am Dennis Barber, 40-year veteran of playing with Transformers toys and 30-year veteran of putting on a Transformer convention. Guys, I know I've done the video about how Star Wars helped make me, and it was my first toy line that I loved, and it's all true. And then G.I. Joe, 3 3/4 inch, replaced Star Wars. But what a lot of you don't know is Transformers came around the same time, and I was fairly poor at the time, and I didn't have enough money to buy Transformers. But at the point at which I started being a toy dealer, Transformers were dirt cheap. I bought so many Transformer collections because this was my chance to have a toy that I couldn't afford. And now 10 years after they came out, they were dirt cheap. I was buying boxes of Transformers for $20 at garage sales, $30 at toy shows, $100 from different little swap meets and stuff for a giant box of these. I was like, I wanted to have these as a kid, and now I can have all of them. And then around 1994, I saw an ad that said, Botcon, the first official toy convention for Transformers. And I was like, oh man, sign me up. And I was going to go to it just to check it out for the weekend. But my cousin called me and said, hey, I'm going to be up visiting your area. Do you want to get together that weekend? Well, I love my cousin. And I said, you know what? I don't know. This Transformer thing could just be a bunch of dorks. And I said, I'm going to go spend that weekend with my cousin. So I waited till Botcon 95, the very next year. And I said, you know what? I'm going to set up there. I've got enough Transformers. I got enough excess Transformers that I could have a pretty damn good table at this show. So I started pricing these out. And, oh my God, I got to tell you the story on this show. So we're set up. It's Dayton, Ohio. And we're set up there, and I've got 2 long tables, maybe 3 or 4 actually, I can't remember, just full of Transformers. People took pictures of it because we had 4 and 5 of certain sets that people had never seen one of. And we made so much money on that first day, and our inventory is running low, that I remembered there were 2 collections that I could have bought. And I called those 2 guys up. And I said, hey, is there any way we can meet tonight? So they said, yeah, I can meet you as late as 11 or 12 o'clock. And I'm like, great. So I talked to my business partner and I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to drive and I'm going to sleep. And then we're going to go buy these 2 collections up by where we live. And then you sleep and I'll drive. And when we get back to the hotel, you can sleep and I'll set up at the show. And then you come over and relieve me. This was our first big convention where we had all the right merchandise at a really good price. And people were just throwing money at us. So it's 6 o'clock on Friday night. We've got to drive back up to the Detroit area, buy these 2 collections. I'm going to go to sleep. I sack out immediately. About 2 to 3 hours later, I wake up. It's the middle of the night. And I rub my eyes and I look at the closest street sign, and the interstate sign says Indianapolis, 1 hour away. Now I'm no geometry or geology or whatever you call it that can know where you're at. But I'm pretty sure Indianapolis is the opposite direction of Detroit from Dayton. And I get the map out and I look and I'm like, did you take the road numbered this instead of the road numbered this? Kids, we used to have these things called maps, and it was the only way we could get around the country or the city. So we didn't have Google, we didn't have Apple Maps. We had to look on a piece of paper to see which direction we were going. So he's been going the wrong direction for 2.5 hours. Now we have to plot our map course up and around the Straits of Magellan to get ourselves back to Detroit, to meet these 2 people, to buy these 2 massive collections, to give us enough inventory on Saturday and Sunday that we're going to be able to make a fortune for our toy company. So it all happens. We get the collections, we get back to Dayton, Ohio, and we're ready for day 2 of this convention. Well, let me tell you, day 2 was kind of crazy. They're throwing more money at us. We're having a blast. And all of a sudden, I'm going to go walk around, and my partner comes over to watch the booth. Little did I know that one crazy Transformer fan, they're all crazy. One crazy Transformers fan walked up to my partner and said, "Do you have Frenzy?" And my partner kind of looked at the cassettes and was like, it's this one. And he goes, Frenzy is the red one, and you pointed to Rumble. And anybody who's a Transformer fan knows that Rumble and Frenzy are 2 different Transformers. Well, he sure let the internet forums know the next week how horribly we were as Transformer dealers because we didn't know the difference between Frenzy and Rumble. Except for the fact that the toy company called the blue one Frenzy and the red one Rumble, and then the cartoon called the blue one Rumble and the red one Frenzy. Who's to know which one's the real one? So at the end of the convention, the organizer of the convention announces, we don't have anyone to run the 1996 convention. And I'm like, I'm sitting there with a giant wad of money in my pocket from doing Transformers, something that I love. And I'm like, I might be interested in trying to put that show on. And basically we just said, well, what kind of stuff do you do? And I said, well, I've put on a couple events at my college. I've done a few things here and there. I've been doing comic book conventions and flea markets for a long time. I think I know enough to put on a Transformers convention. So they let me do it. 1996 was going to be the year I put on the International Transformers Convention known as Botcon 96. The craziest part about this was I had just been on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, and I'm sitting there being asked to prove myself to a bunch of Transformer dorks who barely put on these 2 conventions and didn't have the infrastructure to put on a third one. So I did it because I really wanted to do this. It was also at that year, it was the 10th anniversary of the Transformers movie. And I'm like, yeah, we could do this, we could do that, blah, blah, blah. And this small contingency of absolute lunatic Transformer dorks wanted to keep me from doing this. They made me fill out an online survey of all of their pertinent Transformer questions online on a rec.transformers.art whatever page. And I went through it. I answered their questions. These were easy. I love Transformers. I've been watching them, reading the comic books, and playing with them for over 10 years now. It was infuriating that I had to prove myself. I was a fake Transformer fan who was just trying to grift them for money. Well, up until this point, I wanted to monetize it. I thought that the main draw for this convention was more and more dealers, getting dealers to bring more Transformer toys to the industry, to the group of fans. Well, they wanted to fight me on that because they thought Cybertron was a planet in the middle of space that sent robots that became Transformers to Earth. And they didn't understand the principle that Hasbro made a bunch of robots and they made a comic book and a cartoon to sell a bunch of dorks Transformer toys. We had a fundamental difference in what the Transformers were. And guess what? I was apparently wrong. So we put on Botcon 96. We made a lot of money. It was really fun. I enjoyed doing it. I mostly enjoyed 80 to 90% of the people who came to that convention. But there was this seething group of super fans that could not handle the fact that I didn't understand the fundamental psychological evaluation of certain Transformers that had a personality that I did not absolutely understand. So I went to the people who let me do Botcon 96, and they said, yeah, we're going to do our own convention in 1997, but thank you for participating. I was like, that's weird. So I guess I'll just put on my own convention. So I called it TransCon 97. That was in 1997. That would have had an entirely different meaning now. So TransCon didn't go off as successfully as I planned. We did one more, TransCon 3 in Toledo, but we merged it with MegoCon and MicroCon. These other two entities that I really enjoyed as a kid and as a dealer. Mego and Micronauts were kind of the predecessor to Transformers here in America. So I was like, oh, hey, this is a good mix. Maybe we can educate people and have a great convention. No, Transformers are absolutely a planet in space called Cybertron that sent their robots to Earth, and there is no other explanation for what Transformers are. So, years go on. I'm sitting there as a Transformer fan, exiled from enjoying Transformer and hating the people that control the Transformer universe online. It was kind of sad and pathetic, but I still loved Transformers. I still had some great collections coming in, but at this time, it's 1999, and now we have eBay, so I could sell some of these on eBay. And I've been told that if I attempt to show up to any of the Transformers conventions, I will be escorted out because I am no longer welcome in that community. Okay, the Transformers people have exiled me. So then I found out Botcon 2000 was happening. And I had a lot of Transformers. And I found out the hotel it was in. And I was told that if I showed up, I'd be kicked out by one of my friends. And I was like, oh, that really sucks. So without telling anybody, I contacted the hotel. I said, hey, do you got any breakout rooms or meeting rooms that I could just rent for the weekend? They're like, oh, absolutely. I'm like, well, cool. How about we get one of those? How much is that? We can give it to you for $200. Well, an 8-foot table at this convention was like $400. So I was getting an entire room full of tables for $200. I think I'll take that. So we showed up Thursday and we unloaded our vehicle into this big room. And we started putting everything out on the tables, and it was all priced. And then the Transformer fans started showing up Friday morning. And we had a big sign down in the lobby. And it said, TransCon, 33 1/3. And the convention goers didn't care about, was I part of the official convention or was I exiled from the Transformer community? They just wanted to buy some Transformers. They just wanted to see what was available. And guys, I'm here to tell you, we took $10,000 out of that show by midnight. And the next morning, we boxed everything up, we loaded it into our car, and we took off. And there was nothing those Transformer dorks could do to say about it. But I say to you, Transformer fans, people who know the true meaning of Optimus Prime, he has one ethos, and that is the phrase,
I am Optimus Prime, and those Transformers dorks do not understand till all are one.
I'm Dennis Barger, celebrating the past and living for the future.